Hey folks, Bo with the Vulture back with more Let's Play Aerobiz Supersonic-Scenario number 2. We're getting ready to enter the year 1975. 1975 seems like more of a fun year. I don't know, just seems that way. But we'll soon find out. Crash! 1976. Aerobiz started selling the Concorde. And we got an A300. It's a good deal. And, hey, we get the first turn this time. I'm immediately going to Southeast Asia. Oh my gosh, this route is losing money. Because nobody's taking our flight. Why? Because their flights are dramatically cheaper. No, don't set. That's fine. I'll get into a price war with you. That's okay to change that route. Well, though that's our first non-profitable route. It's good to get that that tension out of the way. Let's choose this flight to Bangkok. We'll go ahead and use an A300. 5 flights. How much is the fare? How much are they charging? They're charging minus 30, but they have 707s. Although 707s are actually roughly the size of our planes. How much is the fare? Let's go ahead and make it 35. Let's go ahead and open the route. We'll see what happens. It's not a direct competing route, really, because I mean it's from Hong Kong to Bangkok. We'll see how it goes anyway. We have $20,000 or $20 million left for this quarter, but it doesn't matter. Oh, you know what I should have done before I opened that route? Because now you're not going to get to be able to hear the pitch from Aerobiz. But check it out. There it is. It's the Concorde. Look at the fuel economy, though. 10. It burns through fuel. Do you know why? It has afterburners. Yes, that's correct. I mean, it has to be able to punch through the sound barrier. It's going to use up a little bit of gas. It's like if you wanted a muscle car that got the same mileage as your Geo. It's not going to happen. But yeah, 120 people in comfort, because, you know, they get champagne and all that kind of crud. 4,000 mile range. Actually, not enough to fly from New York to LA. But they never tried to do that. Because actually, there was a big uproar in the United States over the whole idea of Concorde. Is basically because Air France and British Airways both wanted to do flights into JFK, John F. Kennedy International Airport in New York City. And people of New York stood up and said, no way, we don't want it. You know what they were afraid of? Sonic boom! That's right, sonic booms. There was a lot of fears that supersonic travel was going to be really detrimental to the quality of life in, for the people around, because there were people that were concerned that the sonic booms would wake them up. There were concerns that, gotta wait 12 more months. Gotta wait until another year. There were concerns that the sonic booms would wake people up. There were concerns that because the airplanes fly at a higher altitude and are burning fuel at a higher altitude, they have a greater ozone depletion, which, you know, I'm no scientist. I believe it actually ended up being true, but the difference ended up being, you know, pretty negligible because you don't have that many flights up there. There were even people that were concerned that since you're higher up, you're getting more ultraviolet radiation. Which is true for the time period that you're in there, but considering it takes about half the time to fly, your overall exposure ends up actually being less. It's just more concentrated into a shorter period of time. But yeah, so it wasn't for years that until you know, they were able to fly Concordes into New York. They ended up flying them into Dulles International Airport in, well, not in Washington, D.C., but near Washington, D.C. It's out in in Dulles, Virginia. I guess, yeah, they call it Dulles, Virginia, but the Reston, Herndon area. It's about 45 minutes drive, maybe, out from Washington, D.C. But it's the international airport that serves Washington, D.C. There is a closer airport, Reagan National Airport, but it's a national airport, not an international one. It's a little tiny one. It's actually on the it's actually on my subway route when I head into the city, and every time I go by, I hear this music in my head. Every time I go by through the Washington or Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport stop, I hear as I'm watching all the planes going around and taxiing. It's not as large an airport, of course, as Dulles, because it, you know, the space is at a premium out there. Actually, speaking of Metro, 1976 was the year that the Washington Metro system first opened. At that point in time, it was only a small portion of the Red Line, which is the Red Line is the oldest portion of the Metro system. And I'm trying to remember where it was from. It was from Farragut North on the east side. And I'm trying to remember how far it got out on the west side. I don't know. I don't ride the Red Line very much. The way it ended up being planned, the initial section is in Washington, D.C., but the terminuses are both out in Maryland. And I live on the Virginia side of Washington, D.C., so I don't really know as much about the Red Line. It is the line on which it is, typically speaking, the most incident-prone section of the Metro, just because, I guess, in part because the tracks are the oldest. It was, I guess, not this past summer, but the summer before, there was a collision between two trains, although I guess one of them was not moving at the time, so one train collided with another. But yeah, going full speed. Believe that it ended up being about 90 people killed. It was the biggest, it was the most serious accident in the history of the Metro system. Yeah, it was a bad scene, man. But yeah, so that was one thing that happened in 1976. Of course, the big event for, at least for Americans in 1976, was it was the bicentennial of our nation's founding. 1776. That was when the Declaration of Independence was signed. We told the Brits to go to hell, or at least to stop, asking for taxes and telling us what to do. Really? UK Air set up a flight from New York to Chicago? That is problematic on many levels. But let's see, London to LA. Getting a lot of flights out of that. Oh, the LA to New York flight not giving us as much now. Is this because, yeah, UK Air has gotten into a price war with us? That's fine, two can play at that game. 35. We're still making good money on that route. Not as good as we were, of course. But, no, it's important to establish our dominance. No, we're not really establishing dominance with that route, but that's okay. Yeah, actually, we've got a few extra 727s. Why don't we go ahead and max out this route? Because we're clearly selling it out. It's not a bad route. We don't have any slots left in LA at the moment, though. I guess that's part of the problem. Let's see how that... No. Sorry. Cancel. Let's go to Southeast Asia and look at how those routes are doing. Let's look. Let's have a look. Okay, the route to Bangkok, only about half full, but let's see what the competition is. Yeah, we're undercutting the competition, and the competition is losing money on the route. I like that. Tokyo to Bangkok. Oh wait, that's UK Air's route. I want to see what Dragon's route looks like. They won't show it to me. That's alright, we're doing better than they are. They're using a 707, which is the same size, but again, worse economy, so They have to keep their planes even fuller than we do in order to make that route work. Let's take a look at our competition on this route. 50% down. They are filling up their planes. But, you know, they got here first, so I guess they've got the right. But hopefully through killing them with kindness or something, we'll be able to make those routes work. But yeah, let's go. I forget how much the Concorde cost. Do we have enough money that we could buy one now? I'm telling you right now, folks, I'm not going to buy one. I mean, the game doesn't simulate enough, but, you know, the way that this game works, it's a huge waste of money. And actually, initially, the British government was running all of the, you know, British Airways, I guess. Was it British Airways that was using them? Yeah, the British government was operating the Concordes for them as part of a program or something like that. I'm not sure of all the details of it. If there is a civil aviation expert that wants to post to my video, that's fine. But yeah, the British government never made a profit on the Concorde. Eventually, they sold the planes to British Airways, and I believe in theory, they're disputing claims, but of course it's a government deal, and they didn't have to, I guess, release all the details of it. But in theory, I believe they were sold for a pittance. I mean, they were not sold for as much as it cost to make them. And I guess eventually British Airways, I think, was able to make a profit out of them, or at least use them as sort of a halo. You know, like, hey, we're the airline that has the Concorde. Or, sorry, that is a weird grammatical, like, quirk. When you're talking about Concorde, in English, they don't like you saying the Concorde. They like you to say, oh, we're going to fly Concorde. The only plane that is, you know, the best supersonic civilian transport that was ever made was Concorde. Like, it's just a concept as opposed to a other thing. Yeah, very eloquent, I know. I can fly some routes into Africa. Oh wow, Dragon really is using Tunis as their hub. Fools. I think it's Dragon that is in here anyways. Yeah, go ahead. Negotiate for some slots in Cairo. I hope another war doesn't break out. I honestly could not tell you whether or not one is supposed to. Let's go ahead and try and get more slots in London. I know it looks like we have too many, but you can never have too many. In your major hubs, you can never have too many slots. If you have a bunch of slots just lying around not doing anything, then, well, phooey on Yui. I got some extra money lying around. I am going to buy another 747 so that I can bulk on to some of these big regional routes, because they are what is making money. And I'll go ahead and end my turn. But yeah, 1976. We got the Concorde. We got the Bicentennial. The NBA and the ABA finally merged. The National Basketball Association and the American Basketball Association. There used to be two major professional basketball leagues. The ABA pretty much now known for having the red, white, and blue basketballs as opposed to the solid orange basketballs, which I always thought was pretty cool. It was a pretty heavy score. But yeah, I guess, yeah, we're not kings of interregional flights, but if I get my 747 in, I get my 747 on. Who is the king of, yeah, it's Dragon is probably the ones who have their flights out of Tunis. Dragon is king in the Middle East. And, well, I'm number 2 in Southeast Asia. I'm beating out Aussie. Dragon has conquered Aussie in, Aussie's home turf. That's gotta be bad news for Aussie. That's too bad. You guys were fighting a good fight. Alright, so my profits aren't as good as Dragon's right now. I guess because I'm in the middle of a price war with them in their home region. And they have the home field advantage. I mean, basically, you do get a little bit of a boost in your home. Now see, this is the other one. The other supersonic transport. Tupolev's Tu-144. Which, if I'm remembering correctly, was actually the first supersonic transport to actually break the sound barrier. So, in theory, Tupolev, I think, did it first, but Concorde definitely did it best. Basically, again, the Soviet Union didn't have the same access to, I guess, what do they call them? High bypass turbofan engines, something like that. The engine technology was a step behind, basically. Let's actually go have a look. Let's go have a look at the Tupolev. Oh, we can't because it's not available for sale yet. They just have the 134 and the 154. We're not buying either of those. No, 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 no. Not doing that. Not gonna do it. So yeah, we got a lot of money out of that flight from London to LA. London to Honolulu, London to New York, London to Washington, Mexico City to LA. Okay, so we're not actually filling up those flights anymore. Let's go ahead and put 2 more flights on over here. Yeah. We'll get some more money out of that. You betcha. And let's go over to Southeast Asia and see how the war over here is going. Again, none of our flights are actually full, but I mean, they're not doing terribly. How would a flight to Beijing look? We're actually okay with China. Our relations with China are about as good as they are with wait a minute. Oh, wrong button. Sorry, folks. Keep doing that. But no, the what's interesting is yeah, oh, okay, 1310. Heck, we could do this with 737s if we had to. But you know how I feel about 737s. I'm shaking my head right now. I'm sorry you folks at home can't see. I'm shaking my head. 737. It's funny that I apparently from this game have a grudge against 737, even though it's the best-selling large commercial airliner of all time. I think they made like 30,000 of them or something like that, which for something that's that large and that expensive is ridiculous. Ridiculous. Was it 30,000 or was it only 3,000? Even 3,000 is kind of crazy, because most big airliners, like a lot of them, they'll only sell in like a couple hundreds. But yeah. So we have those. Trying to figure out what else I should buy. What should I buy next, folks? I'm wondering whether or not I need to buy any more Airbuses. I don't think I do for the moment. Let me check on some of my European routes, see whether or not any of those are completely filled the way that they're running right now. London to Athens is. Although what I really could do with that then is... No, I don't want to raise the price. I'm going to continue to keep the price low and just attempt to drive them out of business. Them being, UK Air. How long is the route from London to Cairo? Could I... Yeah, I could put an A300 on that. I could A300 that up good. I'm gonna go ahead and save my money this quarter, because I can't buy another 747, which honestly would be the thing that would get me more money. But, yeah. People had all kinds of concerns about supersonic transport. But as soon as people saw how great it was, you get across the ocean in like 4 or 5 hours, or like, 4 hours instead of like 7 or 8. 4 to 5 instead of 7 or 8. It's like halftime. That's nothing. Emergency landings occurred in an Aussie flight from Sydney to Melbourne. Oh, things just aren't going well for the Olympics in Toronto will begin. Well, that's interesting. Airport expansion in London. Ah, now I'm the king of interregional flights, baby. Well, don't have the biggest number of passenger totals in Europe, but that's okay. I'm becoming a force to be reckoned with here, folks. I started out really sluggish, but I think things are starting to turn Bobo Air's way. As a matter of fact, see, getting those big planes filled, sending them across the ocean, that's what's getting me profits over Dragon. I hope Dragon doesn't figure that out, but there's always that chance. Yes, the regional rankings of 1976. Excellent. Yes, I love it. But, yeah. It's interesting, though, because, I mean, the Tupolev Tu-I-44 and the Concorde are not the only those aren't the only supersonic aircraft of that size that have ever been made. There have been a lot of aircraft of that size ever made, but they were all military bombers. There was a lot of development done into supersonic bombers during the Cold War, especially during the first part of the Cold War, because that's how people thought when, you know, the big, you know, the nukes all started to fall. At least initially, people thought, well, that's how people are going to drop the nukes. Because, you know, I mean, to this day, the only time that nuclear weapons have been used in war, they were dropped from what were they, B-52 Stratoforces? I don't know. Sorry, but yeah, they were dropped from planes. They were nuclear bombs. You know, when they fell on Nagasaki and Hiroshima at the end of World War II. Is our airport, the LA airport, ready for expansion yet? It's funny, like, my home base is in Mexico, but I'm basically just treating it like Los Angeles is. 3 months. Alright, we gotta wait 3 months. That's okay. That's okay. We'll work it out, folks. We will. Look at that. London to LA. Getting almost 40 million a year out of that route. And same amount from the route to Tokyo. Route to LA is doing pretty well. The route to Washington. See? We're back to getting good money out of that route. I'm tempted to see how much the other guys are charging. Yeah, they're still charging less, but they don't have the clout we do. Washington route, the LA route, Tokyo route. I must have gone the wrong way around. Honolulu route's back to being full again. That's nice. I'm not going to sacrifice any of the slots in LA, though, for it. But look at all this money we have now. I could buy a couple of 747s. You know what? I think I will. I'm going to buy a couple 747s. That's right. I'm doing it. 450. Yeah, that's cool. I can order 2 planes, and I'm going to order 2 planes, lady. You better believe it. Because when I get more slots in LA, I'm going to be putting those on the big routes and getting more cash coming in. That's the way that business works. I'm telling the woman who sells multi-million-dollar airliners how business works. That's, yeah, it's something. But, yeah, it's interesting, though, isn't it? But, yeah, they were making supersonic, they're making supersonic bombers. A lot of them. And eventually interest in it sort of petered out because they kept making advancements in missile guidance systems, and eventually they realized missiles were probably going to be the way that, you know, nuclear weapons were delivered in the future. Because it's harder to shoot down a missile than it is to shoot down an airplane. For a while there, and that's one of the reasons they were making them supersonic bombers, is because, like, it was just a regular old slow heavy bomber flying in. They had fighter planes that could take those sorts of things out, but if the bomber was moving fast enough that, like, it was moving almost as fast as a jet fighter, just higher up, in a higher operating, you know, altitude, they'd have a hard time with that. And so that was the theory, which is why we now have lots and lots of nuclear missiles, and we're trying to get rid of them. That's the whole START 2, disarmament treaty thingies and stuff. Dragon also ordering some 727s. Yay, 18 more slots. Give them all to me, please. Haha. They tried to get me some more tried to beat me in interregional flights, but excuse me, they couldn't do it. They don't have the guts. They don't have the guts. Alright. I'm gonna take a huge gamble here, folks, because it's getting so late. I've been on a marathon run because things have been going so well, and the game is just so much more fun when you are clawing your way back. Like, I'm still not the #1 airline. Not in terms of passengers carried, not in terms of sales, not in terms of profit. But I'm back in the game, you know? Like, when I was starting there, you heard me. I was whining and wailing and despairing. But, yeah. I blame the Airbus, honestly. Like, yes, it's having the money to be... It's the big 747 flights that are bringing the money back in for me, but honestly, it was getting Airbuses on the New York to LA route that gave me the extra wiggle room so that I could buy some more 747s. I'm doing all kinds of like hand gestures with this, like hand to the right, which symbolizes going from LA to London, and hand to the left, which symbolizes LA to Tokyo. I'm like doing this like hand jive thing, but you guys aren't seeing it. You're just looking at bar graphs. I mean, they're nice bar graphs, and there's a world map behind them. That's kind of neat. But, yeah. It's cool. It's cool. But I'm going to take a huge risk here, because basically one of the most important things you can possibly have, which are slots in Los Angeles, are about to come on the market, and I'm closing the game for a time period. And just hoping against hope that I remember that, those slots are going to be available in the first quarter of 1977. 1977, another big year, folks. Yeah, the Tu-144 is going to be available. I'm not going to buy it, but it's going to be there. We can look at it. It'll be pretty. Yeah, I'm just babbling on now, but it's okay. That's what you folks came here to see/hear. But, yeah, time to sign out here, folks. This is Bobo the Vulture. This is Let's Play Aerobiz Supersonic-Scenario 2. Thanks very much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.